Hi, regularly be dead here. John, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for looking at this. The second part of trip route planning. Um, and there'll be a link from part one if you just arrived. So please, anyway, link, like, and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to put more content, more ideas, more data, more intelligence into and broaden the community so that electric vehicles that aren't called Tesla become more normal. This is what creates a more sustainable um, uh, world. And I'm saying that as someone who just drove 1,000 miles in a gas-powered van at, I don't know, 16 miles to the gallon for the last day. So that's why I look like this, but I want to get this video done. So let me share my screen so you can see what we're talking about today. So in part one, as a quick recap, in June, I will be traveling from here in San Jose to New York via Chicago to help my wife out. And because I love her and it's kind of a family thing. She's taking nearly a month off to be on the road and partake of her hobby. And I'm going to whiz out and help her at some point. And that requires or it created the opportunity to do something I've always wanted to do, which is to drive an EV across the US. So the first part of our trip is from San Jose to Jordan, south part of Salt Lake City. The second day will take us from there through Denver to Lexington, Nebraska. And today I'm going to talk about the second part of this journey, which will be from Lexington to Chicago and then Chicago to New York. A couple of tweaks since the last video I did about this. So I do have a co-pilot. She's called Nancy. She's a retired, or will be a retired teacher at that point. So she knows how to put me in a place. She's a good friend, and she wants to take her dogs to the same dog show my wife is going to in Chicago. So this worked out perfectly. So I'll have Nancy and two Sloogies, I think they are, as companions for this trip. And that's meant a slight modification to the first day's journey. And so now we're going to be stopping in Carson City, or just outside Carson City, to pick up Nancy and her dogs. And this is a real family road trip. Now, Nancy's not family, but having dogs in the car and doing this is perfectly normal for us. Not this week, but next week, May will be taking one of our dogs down to San Diego for 2 days in the car. That necessitated a minor change to day one in the going through Carson City requires a charge in Folsom and South Lake Tahoe. I'm keeping an eye on an Electrify America charger at Placerville, which would make a better charging point for me as my first charge. It's within reach. It's around 200, just over 200 miles, but there is a big uphill. It starts to go uphill. So wind and terrain will decide, but we'll keep an eye on that for the day. We'll pick up Nancy and then we'll head to Fernley. So we're going to cut out, we're going to take a different route over the Sierras. And one actually, interestingly, I've never taken before. So nice to do something different. You can't spend too much time on 80. So let's get to our. So the other thing is, I changed our hotel because it was just me and I wasn't traveling dogs. I was staying at a Holiday Inn, which had 2 Tesla chargers, which would have been interesting because they had 16 kilowatt a piece charging. This one is a La Quinta. She has a much more flexible dog policy, and they have 4 6.6 kilowatt chargers. So we will hit the Electrify America in Salt Lake City just for 10 minutes, just whatever charge we just literally to get the first taper, to get the 125 kilowatts, get the first big chunk in. That way I'm guaranteed to wake up and we're going to be on the road literally at 7 a.m. sharp. So make sure sleep and battery is the motto. So with that in mind, let's look at where we're going on this one. We've already done that bit. We're going from Lexington Nebraska. Let's get the correct address. And we're going to be going to Grays Lake. Now, this will be interesting for, what you might call off-piste EVing. When going to dog shows, they usually take place at fairgrounds with RV setups. And so I'll actually be using my Tesla mobile connector with its multitude of adapters, 50, 40, 30 amp connectors, and the Tesla Adapt charger to charge up there. So we're not too worried about, turning it with 1% is fine, because once it's in, we're not going anywhere for a while. Certainly not till the next day. So that's absolutely fine by us. Let's set this up for Monday, Tuesday, for Wednesday, and it's going to be at 5 a.m. because we're in a different time zone now, I think. And so our trip is going to take us through Lincoln, Omaha. And so this is, we have two choices. Let's look at the end. So we have two choices, no major difference in speed. In fact, let me show you something I didn't show you last time. So let me go to the planner, go to settings. I have a premium subscription, and I've been working on my integration with EV Notify, which is running in the car. So you'll see I'm going to do another video on this setup. So I have a separate phone which is running a Better Route Planner and EV Notify. In fact, I will show you a quick picture of it now. So this is my new setup. So this is an LG Wing. It's a strange phone to look at it conventionally. I don't have it on my desk, but it has a flip through 90 degrees. And so this the small screen has EV Notify, which gives me a very accurate state of charge. And then a Better Route Planner will run on the other one. And they're working together. So a Better Route Planner is aware of wind, terrain, and state of charge. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. And then right on this picture, you'll see I've actually got the native sat-nav system running. I've got a trip to Klamath this coming weekend. I was intrigued to see what that would look like. And I'm going to be honest with you, it sucks. It's fine, but the sat-nav, it recommends that I leave home, go to a DC fast charger for 150 kilowatt one in Walnut Creek for 32 minutes, and then charge for an hour and 4 minutes at a 50 kilowatt DC charger. And I couldn't even tell you where that one is. The fact that the times, they make no difference. It says 8 hours and 17 minutes. I have no idea what it's suggesting. We know that we're going to stop at, most likely, unless there's a massive headwind, stop at Willows and Anderson, and do a deep charge at Anderson. Anderson? Not Anderson. No, it is Anderson. Anderson, just south of Reading. And then we'll take an assessment when we've gone through the hills at Weed, whether we need to do a quick top-up charge at the 50 kilowatt DC charge point. But I mean, this is what it's throwing out is just complete garbage. It has to be said. It may be because I only had 42% in the tank at the time, but just garbage. So anyway, let's go back to our road. So here, this would be assuming now, but it's going to have the wind information in here, which is surprisingly accurate, I have to say. So we're not going to stop at Grand Island for 8 minutes in order to go a bit further. Not that I wouldn't. When I road trip with my wife going the other way many years ago before we were married, we actually spent the night in Grand Island before we went to see her relatives in Big Springs. and there was a little diner there, and I'll never forget this. The coffee cups were sponsored by the local watchery. These are things, when I say I'll never forget, this was now almost be, this is 12 years ago, and maybe more. Anyway, whilst I love Grand Island, and I would love to, go back to that diner, we haven't got time to do that. So we're going to miss Grand Island, and we're going to go straight into Lincoln. Now, interestingly, it says that we're going to be there for 7 minutes and go from 22 to 35%. You have to wonder, with that 13% state of charge, we look at the total, what's it, 161, 162, 240 odd miles. If there's not much wind, depending on this, and we're leaving early in the morning, so it's not that hot, then I would be looking at Lincoln and saying, you know what, screw it, we're just going to go to Omaha and come in at 1%. And if we do that, and this is just being situationally aware. I made a tweak here, so this has got a minimum of 70 kilowatts. This allows me to just get rid of all the regular ones. But Omaha might not be the center of electric chargers. If we just put everything on, we do have, between Lincoln, pardon my phone, between Lincoln and if we do go past, we've got backups. We've got 50 kilowatts charge point, 50 kilowatts somewhere, not much of a, there we go, in the middle. Oh, looks like somebody's already plugged in an ID4. Lovely to meet you sometime in the future. So we do have options if we have to bail, and so that's where having the battery state of charge and a better route planner working together. This is what Teslas essentially have, and what I'm trying to recreate. So we've got options because it is literally on the way out of town. We'll see what the situation is. Let's go back to our thing, and then we have a couple of options here, whether we come up through Chicago or whether we take the more rural requires a deeper charge. It takes a little bit longer, but if we need to, there is an Electrify America here in Rockford. So we've got options. You do have to ask yourself, do you want to spend 38 minutes at Casey's? This is a well-known brand and stock of truck. It's gas, pizza, and pies. Yes, I've been to one before. I can't remember where. It wasn't a road trip; it was a business trip. But we'll take a view on the day. Personally, I have to say, I've done this bits of this route. I love to see somewhere new, and I love going through these small towns. So, I see that as happening. I also see, me going on a little bit further on 80, and then, and then possibly taking 90 up here. We'll take a view at the moment. But this is the plan. This tells us that we can, we can accomplish our goals. It's going to be 13 hours in total, one way or the other. And then we'll do what we did beforehand, and we'll transpose this to, in fact, I've already done this. So if I go to my trip planner function down here, I've already laid this in so that all my my stops are in, and I can again, I'll link to the video. I can just, while I'm at one charger, I can hit the next one in Waze on to Android Auto, and I will be using Waze. So I'm going to have a better route planner with the EV Notify on my, on that stand, and you can see a link to. I'll put a link to the setup I have in the show notes. In the show notes, if it's a show, in the video notes, and then I'll be using the PlugShare app to provide the next address to go to, and using Waze. I sorry to prejudge it, but I do know that the native sat nav sucks, and is going to be no use whatsoever. And the sound of the person's voice is going to annoy me. But I am going to do a proper in-depth review and contrast and comparison on the trip to Klamath this weekend. You'll see that sometime next week. So that is that's version 1, and then so that's part one of part 2. And so that's all set in stone, and that's great. So then we're going to go to we're going to the reason we started this whole thing was to go to New York, and you can't be a petrol head, you can drive an EV car without going to the Red Bull garage in New York. Where are you? Red Bull garage on 31st. So, which has an EV charger inside it, but not that we're going to use it. So I'm going to be in Chicago for a couple of days, and then as a family, we're going to head out. My wife's taking a van with the dogs that we're renting because it's cheaper to rent a dog. Can you do that? Possibly. Cheaper to rent a van and take the dogs in that, and leave our RV with some friends in Chicago. Gas being as expensive as it is, if you can get it on the East Coast. As I write this, we have a cybersecurity issue and people filling up their tanks. I do feel sorry for them, but also I had to fill our van last night as I was coming into Pleasanton, and I had a coupon for Safeways, and it still cost me $4.10 a gallon. I got to 60 and said stop because it was just hurting too much. I love my EV, I truly do. And so we're gonna leave early on the Saturday morning. And I don't think we're going to Top Gear do this because my wife's driving a van and with a tank of gas, and she doesn't need to stop, and my wife can drive like a camel. She does have her friend Lisa with her, who does need to stop more often, but I'm going to have a 4-year-old with me, and as I have learned, she needs the bathroom exactly 20 minutes after you've left the gas stop and you're in the middle of Oregon with no turnoffs. Many a roadside pit stop this past weekend. So on our way to New York, again, we're faced with the same options here. And so we've got 134 miles to our first charger. It's 134 and then 154. So let me add this in as a waypoint. Let's see how far it is to Tiffin. You want to get that battery down to keep our, we'd much rather charge a little bit more often, but frequently. So it's still telling us that we have to go to Indiana. What's interesting is, so we've got a total of 131 miles, so 231 miles. No, I got a word for that. Yeah, 231 miles to Tiffin. Again, if we're setting up early in the morning, I mean early, 7 a.m., we're not going to need to use the AC, depending on what the wind is doing for us. Then there is a good chance that we will just go straight to Tiffin River and come in at 5%. I don't think we need that extra 8%, and a judgment will have to be made. Where it gets a bit more interesting is here in Cleveland. This is, if it's not suggesting we keep our speed down, but it wants a 43-minute charge outside Toledo. And if we do choose to come off, this is not 5 minutes. This is going to add real time. So that has to be factored in. Now, I'm not against using non-Electrify America fast chargers. If we look, however, at the system, and this is worth showing you, you'll notice I've got all the networks active. I can get rid of this. If I just get rid of all the 50 kilowatts, there is, so this is, I think it was Toledo where we were. On the other side of Toledo, so Toledo, Clevetown, Youngstown, there is nothing. It is only the Electrify America. And in fact, right now, partial repair, what is the situation? One of the CCS is out. And a report here from yesterday, one device has a frozen screen. And interestingly, someone with a Tesla used their CTAC adapter and it worked. But yeah, we don't have additional choices on this one. We only have the Electrify America chargers at more than, with 150, even more than 70. There is a situation where I put it in as an option. Let's see if I can find it for you very quickly. Where's Denver? So when we're coming through Denver, my plan is to I'm a snob. So I'm arranging a snack pickup, a picnic basically of snacks from Whole Foods in Frisco, Colorado. So I've got a pickup spot and I need to arrive within an hour because the Electrify America, whilst it's in front of a Walmart, there's a Whole Foods behind it. So the plan is, run into the store, grab our snacks, then go to enjoy the Walmart car park with our Whole Foods package. But then I want to get a decent meal because we're getting in late. And one option, without slowing us down, while I find Denver, I have done this before, I promise, is this one. And this is interesting because it's a 200 kilowatt EV Go, but it's in a Whole Foods car park and it's not far from our route, not far at all. It's a minor diversion to come in on 70 and then take 6 through the underside of Denver, and then literally just going to hit the Whole Foods hotbar and get a good meal while the car continues to charge at full speed, and then we'll head off to Fort. If I remember, is it Fort Sumter? Fort Morgan on that part of the trip. But it looks like on this leg of the journey, I don't need you. That's not an option. So let's look at our, you'll notice here I rate the power to 70. That just gets rid of all those EV Goes. And even here, we're going to have to be careful. We've got to manage our power and conserve. Walmart. So that's 2, back to back. So we haven't got, we're going to have to go with what we've got. There's no bailouts on these things. Here at Bloomsburg, we can get into East Stroudsburg, and we'll arrive at 10%. Now, that's not strictly true because we're going to add, we're going to stop here at Union City, the last Electrify America before we get to, in Syracuse, before we get to Manhattan, because I need to have about 30% when I get there, because whilst we will take pictures and celebrate getting all the way to the Red Ball garage, I do then have to head towards a little bit north, up towards Tarrytown. Where is it? Up here, Sleepy Hollow. And I'm not stopping again that night. The hotel we're staying at has got both J1772 and Tesla chargers. Interesting, because I say about all the planning, I booked the hotel because we have to stay at a given hotel because they've got agreed rates. Found out afterwards that they have the Tesla charger and the J1772, so I'll be happy to use either of those. But this is, this is what we're planning, and I think I've already started laying this into PlugShare and we have a quick look? No, we haven't. So let's start that. So let's start a trip. We'll plan a new trip. We're going to start in Grays Lake, Illinois, and we're going to finish at we'll just put, I don't think it knows, we'll see if it knows. Oh, we got the charger right. Oh, oh, there it is. So, you know, with this in mind, let's go back to the better route planner. Apparently we just remove, we're going to make this EV go only. So let's just remove, just do it to 70%. That gets rid of a lot of them. So we're going to stop in Elkhart, Tiffin, which is where we hope we'll get to. And then basically Cleveland is the one we're going to miss. Here we have some choices. I think it has a missing one of them, Dubois. What gets missed? I know we go to Dubois. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Bloomsburg. And then this is where a little bit of local knowledge comes in. Do we take, we don't want to have to go through multiple tunnels, so and we don't want to screw ourselves up too much and create complication. So it looks to me that they're both at Walmart, so it makes no difference. So we're going to add this one to our trip. And that's it, with a presumption of 14 hours or so, which is about right. So we'll save this one. If we look at the elevation, and this is, you know, if we this section here, sheets is the this is where we're going to have to, you know, keep our foot off the throttle, because we don't have a huge amount of we've got elevation changes of what's that, nearly 1,300 feet, and so, you know, especially here, if we're only kicking off with you know, we're going to be doing 120 miles, but we're just going to have to manage this thing. And so this is where having a better route planner, EV Notify working together, yeah, this is where we think we've got a good system. Anyway, I have spoken way too much for what was meant to be a short video. So please like and subscribe. Like I said, the more traction we get on this, the more we can share. Please join the ID4 groups on Facebook and on Reddit. I'm not a forum member, forum owner, or anything like that. I just, you know, want to get more. You know, the more you know, the better. And then my hope is that we can share these experiences with VW. And I'm not doe-eyed on this one. They need to improve their sat-nav system so that not the geeks of this world, but my wife can get in and go and not have to think about this crap, because it's not there yet and it needs to be, like the Tesla. Anyway, if you have been, thank you very much for watching. You have yourself a great day.